Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cardano Community Podcast. Today we're having a very special interview with Daniel Lacalle. I'm the co-host today, and today's host, that is Vasil. Vasil, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I think it's quite natural that the oldest guy would be the host, because I seem like 2 times older than you young guys. I'm very happy that I have around me such a beautiful, strong young men. I think Daniel, he simply did not need any introduction because he's quite famous as an economist who is explaining in the previous book. I call it previous because he will talk about the next one, about social capitalism and how social capitalism could lead our society to prosperity. And maybe he could explain how this is connected to the freedom itself. So, Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You've been very kind, and thanks for having me on your podcast. The idea of my new book, which is called Freedom or Equality, is to go into the debate about whether equality in itself is an objective and whether the solutions for the challenges of the current that the economy is facing and that society is facing, are going to be solved through higher intervention, which is what we are being sold by numerous different political and social agents, or with more freedom. The title, therefore, resembles that freedom or equality talk about whether a society that puts equality first doesn't get either freedom nor equality. I think that the challenges that we face, technology, the improvement of welfare in the emerging markets, the improvement in the middle class in emerging economies, and the aging of the population in the Western countries, all of those factors cannot be solved through intervention. They cannot be solved with higher levels of government input and government intervention. And we go through the different things that are being promised, the different things that are being promoted, the different actions that are being mentioned by numerous social and political agents, and debunking some of those myths.
Thank you very much. And I have a question. In your book, how many often you focus on so-called innovative technologies, and how many times you mention in the book the top-level innovation technology, according to our modest opinion, one of the top, the blockchain technology itself?
Mm-hmm. The book talks about technology and talks about the challenge of technology, and it doesn't go directly into it because it's about predominantly it's about the impact of technology in job creation. It's about the impact of technology in the equality and disparity of wealth that we might see. So one of the things that we talk, for example, that I mentioned in the book is the fact that there are numerous things that we are being told that are simply incorrect. That technology destroys jobs, for example, and technology does not destroy jobs. And we see, for example, that in the societies with the highest percentage of robots in the economy actually have the lowest levels of unemployment. They also have the highest levels of wealth. So we need to understand that all those things like blockchain are tremendously beneficial to not only just to the consumer, which I think everybody understands, but also to the opportunities in the new jobs that are going to be created, not just high-tech and highly skilled jobs, but also in services, in in all those tangent industries that will provide further services to the economy.
Okay, so after this, let's say the new upcoming book, right? That will be out in April 2020. Will you be planning anything? Let's say for like a second book, whereby you will be going more deeper into the matter about this new technology, or?
Yes, well, there is in Escape from the Central Bank Trap, which is my third book, and also here in Freedom or Equality, I mention all the time the challenges of the new technology and technology revolution. In Escape from the Central Bank Trap, there is an entire part devoted to cryptocurrencies, new monetary systems, blockchain, etc. Will there be a fifth book, devoted to entirely to new technologies? I don't know. It's a question of supply and demand.
I see. It's very interesting. Guys, do you see? I want to know if you see the same. I see certain black thing which is augmented reality. I don't have it. Do you see something black here under my nose, or I see only on the picture on my screen? I see here under the nose a black mustaches, totally black, like somebody hit me in the face. You know? Do you see this or not?
I think you look awesome.
You see also this one?
I can see it, but the thing is, it kind of brings out your beauty.
Yes, but I just want to mention, to use the opportunity that augmented reality, one way or another, is already here, because I don't have this thing, you know. This is augmented to me, and you see it, and as we are not together in real situation, you could think that I just came back from certain fight, you know. So technology, which is intermediates us to not to have always real contacts, but multimedia contacts, also is augmenting our perception, you know. It's very interesting. Yeah. So new technologies bring new challenges from psychological point of view. And Daniel, what is your basic stand about this? Is according to your understanding technology neutral to the politics and things, you know, how it could be used, or how about this?
Technology is never neutral. Technology obviously is something that facilitates significantly the access of to information, to data, and to services to everybody. Therefore, technology is always against the things that, you know, inevitably a government likes the most, which is to control information, yes, to control the access to data, to control the level of interaction between people. So technology is not neutral. Technology, and from government's perspective, technology and the advance of technology is showing that borders are disappearing dramatically. We're talking here between us, and despite the challenges of what you just mentioned, of seeing the actual mustache that you have or not, the reality is that we are having a very deep and important discussion that will be available to almost anybody and everybody for many, many years to come, and that is what I call the democratization of information. So technology, in that sense, it does numerous things that governments initially, not because they're evil, but would dislike. You know? The first one is disinflation. This conversation is free. This conversation would cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if we had it 20, 30 years ago on the phone. So technology is very disinflationary. And disinflation is not good for those that benefit from inflation, which tend to be governments, because government debt is eroded by the process of inflation. No? The second thing that technology is incredibly wide and versatile, and therefore what it does is to allow citizens to get the level of information, not that a government or a television network or somebody else wants, but precisely the information and the feedback that they want. No? So this is one of the reasons why the perception of people about the reality globally is so different from the messages that we would receive, say, from central banks or from governments, etc. Is because most of us are able to gather a different reality than what multilateral bodies or what governments would want us to achieve. The third one, which is not particularly interesting either for governments, I said it before, is that borders disappear. There are no more French companies. There are no more American companies. There are no more, let's say, German companies. They're multinational that are selling globally, that have shareholders are from all over the world, bondholders are from all over the world, the stakeholders are from all over the world, and the supply chains and demand chains are also nowhere to be seen from the government perspective. That's why they get so nervous about this concept of whether they are losing tax revenues or not losing tax revenues because of technology. It's because governments are basically losing power globally because of technology.
Yes. So basically, you would say that the emerging of new technology also brings freedom to, let's say, the normal man.
Not necessarily, I have to say. Not necessarily. It does bring a number of tools that none of us here in this conversation would have even fathomed 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. You're very young. You and I, Vasil, we are, I think, more or less the same age. So we have seen the times in which you basically had to carry a mobile phone that was bigger than this computer. Only the battery. But it does bring more information, and it does bring more availability and more availability of information. But it also, like every tool, can work against you. One of the things that we are seeing also with the advance of technology is that people become more radicalized, because instead of receiving wide information, most of us actually, and this is the problem of the confirmation bias, most of us will search for information that basically already agrees with our perception. And that's why media is becoming, the media is less neutral and is more, editorial. That's why all of those things. So all of those things are also, like everything, it's tremendous positives and some negatives. And that's I would say one of the negatives today is that a young person that is listening to us right now has more information than Vasil or I would have ever dreamed of when we were kids, and yet they are using not a fraction, not even a fraction. I'm being generous here. They're using probably less than half of the information that we used when we were 20 years old or when we were 19 years old.
Well, how would you? Because I can imagine definitely we will have a lot of younger viewers, listeners here on the podcast, right? But what would you advise them? How would you advise them to go about, let's say, their new consumption, or gathering their own information? Obviously, you're a very resourceful person as well, so I believe that coming from you, that might have some sort of weight.
Think about this. You send a tweet with a link to an article. 99% of the people that will respond to it have not read the article. They have barely read the 140 characters of the tweet. Think about this. If they click on the article, 99% of the people that do will not go beyond the headline. But it's virtually no one. Virtually no one. I write almost weekly a couple of articles, 1,000 words, 1,500 words each. I can guarantee you that the vast majority do not pass the 500 first words. So what I would suggest to our young readers and to our young listeners and to our young followers is to do the opposite. Is to do exactly the opposite. There are so many times in which somebody has sent me a tweet in which they said, look at this, look at the headline. I said, did you read the article? Because it says the opposite. Did you read what it says? You see what I mean? So it's this is like music or like TV or like cinema. When things are widely available, we stop analyzing or understanding the value of it because it's cheap, because it's free. Things that are free are not valued. No, so if it's free, why would I? And if it's widely available, why would I use it? No, but do the opposite. No, instead of because you have Spotify, stop listening to albums and music. Do the opposite. Instead of because you have thousands of opportunities of reading, do read them. It doesn't take a long time. And actually, you see what we see. And try always. It's difficult, and it is difficult because it makes generations of people that are easily accustomed to receiving one-sided views. Try to look at the other way. Try to look at other perspectives with a critical mindset in which you challenge your views. Because it's very easy, especially in this day and age in which everybody has, I don't know, a couple of thousand or 100,000 followers. You see, my followers. No, it's become almost like a self-cult of disbelief. No, try to see what other people are saying and try to go deeper. Always try to go deeper. It's not that difficult. No.
That is, I will definitely take that advice. I think one of the things, because I obviously, I follow you, and then I try and read some of the things that you put out there. Not that I understand a lot of them, but I try to read them. I try to read some of them. What I'll try to do as of, let's say, this week, read a couple of those articles and try and engage with you about what you're writing.
Okay.
And perhaps some of them might not make sense what I'm writing, but it's more like or asking, but it's just to gain more clarity for myself. Be certain that hey, that what I read, I really understand. I grasp what you're saying, and in doing so,
and challenge it. It's 99% of what you're going to be reading from myself or from anybody is going to be an opinion, and my opinion is wrong. And so that's one of the reasons why I started using social media, is that it was a great way of challenging your opinions with people that were intelligent and bright and had good opinions. The problem is that it suddenly became flooded with trolls whose idea of challenging an opinion is to insult, and then obviously you don't care, no? But those are the good things about these, technology tools are always there. And again, you're coming back to blockchain. Blockchain is going to do wonders from that perspective. What we today consider immediate is going to be, I don't know, a decade in a few years.
Yes, definitely.
Let me tell you, Daniel, that we share almost the same opinion about the last things you mentioned about how the young people and not so young people now how they react to information. I will share with you this because I was actively involved in the last 5 days to sending to many people, mainly via Messenger, a certain link about certain event which I'm one of the key organizers. And I send the link, and there is beautiful picture, very capturing attention thing. So they look at the link, and then I follow up and ask, hello, how are you? blah blah. Suddenly the young man said, I did not have time to open the link. Then I have to pursue him or her to find time to open the link. Then they read the title, as you said. Then don't read below, but because this is a certain special format, initially under the title they see one paragraph, but the key information is below. And I
Absolutely.
start to explain.
Absolutely.
Actually,
Absolutely.
I did not met from 100 people. No one was actually read the total thing, and then no one was understood what was going on. And the
That is
real,
technology. That is
absolutely, absolutely, and I was so so excited about how this is possible, because many of them are quite intelligent.
of course. No, it
They're not,
doesn't.
not stupid.
No, but it doesn't. Yeah, but it's not because people are not intelligent or because they're not savvy. It is because overkill kills. It's because when you it's like, when we get used to the fact that the information that we're going to get is going to be quick, easy, and immediate. If it's not so immediate that it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, then people just don't even realize. You see, this is a classic example of what you just mentioned. We had a very similar situation. We sent uh, a few hundred invitations to a party to a lot of people, virtual invitations. This beautiful thing. You click on it, a virtual envelope opens, and it's lovely. And there's only one thing, and you only need to do is click. And the only thing that you do is click, and then you confirm that you're going to the party. 60% of the people did not even click. So, but this is like
Yes.
this is what we need to live with. Huh?
Yes, yes, very, very interesting. And by the way,
By the way, huh?
do you have any your, let's say, observation about is this related the development of the people you observe related to certain stages of psychological development, or how is your perception about eventual stages of development, let's say in your life?
Yeah.
Do you remember how you perceived the world when you were 10 years old?
Oh, I do remember.
10
Yeah,
years
I
old?
do remember. No,
Well,
but
that's an interesting question there, Fasil.
absolutely it is. I don't think it's a question of stages of development, and I think it's about incentives and disincentives. I think that if you go to any of the young people that will be listening and watching us today, unquestionably, no doubt whatsoever, they are brighter, better educated. They have a lot more skills than I, for example, would have ever imagined 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. No question about it. People are better, no question. However, it's about incentives and disincentives. And when you don't, when the supply of things that you receive is outlandishly cheap, if not free, you don't value it. That is the problem. And this is as simple as this. This conversation that we're having will be viewed by thousands of people because it's free. If we charge 10 cents, it will be viewed by 10 at best. It doesn't mean that there's no value. It means that the availability of information is so wide that people are usually unable to discern what is valuable from what is not valuable, and therefore the concept of fake news comes very quickly, because you attach the same probability of giving you good information versus bad information to a media outlet with decades of experience relative to a blog of somebody out there that receives 100,000 followers, no? And that is the same with I don't know, with music. You see, the moment that you lose the incentive that consumption requires in order for you to pay attention, you don't pay attention to it. You don't even. Why do people? This is, for example, people are absolutely capable of spending 2 hours watching a show which will cost them $300 in the United States, a music show or a comedian, whatever. It will cost you a tremendous amount of money, yet they will not be able to spend 40 minutes reading or watching the same thing for less than half the amount, less than actually a tenth of the amount, in a device, in a record or in a DVD or something like that. That's interesting. No? So it's a question of incentives. It's not a question of lack of ability. Is that most people will understand that they need to enjoy as much as they can the 2 hours that they will spend, because they have spent $300 on the ticket.
Yeah.
But they don't value the book or the album or the DVD or of the same comedian, artist, lecturer, wherever you want, at a tenth of the price, for for half of the time.
But what is the cause of this, do you think? Because is this more like a generational thing? Because if you ask me, right, I would say that, let's say, previous generations, are more tend to value things much better than my generation, and even the younger generation. Today, I think there's a lack of focus. Secondly, because of the fact that there's so many information out there. It's very difficult for a lot of young people to really focus and see, okay, wow, what is really valuable information and what is not. So that is, I think, the overkill that you mentioned earlier as well. Overkill does kill. But it doesn't help to really focus. So yes, I mean, I would say perhaps
No,
you start.
I agree, but it's super easy. It's very easy, actually. Very easy to blame it on the new generations, especially for us. Hey, in our time it was great. In our time we were all fantastic, but the new generation doesn't understand. No, it's not. The new generation understands perfectly. The problem is not the problem, is the beauty of a level of availability, a level of supply of the experience that is so completely different to what we ever imagined in our lifetime, that again, it's not that it's difficult to focus, is that the supply is thousands of times higher. So, I write a new book. When the day that I write the book, the day that I publish the book, I'm going to make a guess, no? But in the United States, on that day, there will be probably, that day alone, there will be probably 1,000 books being published. 1,000. Okay?
Oh.
Now, I remember when there were a few, and again, it's a question of supply and incentives. No? I remember when there were a few publishers, and those publishers would say, look, we love your book. We're going to release your book in 18 months' time because the pipeline that we have is such and such. And by the way, there's this guy, it's called Stephen King. He sells millions of books, so he jumps in the pipeline. So you go back. Huh?
Yeah.
Those things are not that anymore. Are not like that anymore. So it's not that people are less focused. It's that it's impossible to be more focused. No. It's not that it's impossible to be more focused. It's impossible to be focused the way that we used to be. We used to go out, buy a book. The book cost us the wage of a week. We went, we treasured the book, etc., 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 etc. The supply was lower. Lower. The demand was lower. Now you go on Kindle, boom, you download. I downloaded the other day the entire bibliography of a classic author, and it was 4.99. 4.99.
Yeah.
Plus the entire bibliography. Decades of experience and writings of that person. No, I have two options. One, read them all. Two, disregard them. If I disregard it, it's not my fault. It is partially my fault, but it's not entirely my fault. You see what I mean? Therefore, that is why it's so important, especially because we have more free time all the time, to make the most out of it and try to benefit from the fact that today you can buy the entire bibliography of a guy for $4.99 of a classic author, by the way, not anybody, okay? Of a classic author for $4.99 when just inflation adjusted. When I was a kid, that same bibliography would have cost easily 150 times more. Okay?
Wow.
Inflation adjusted. Okay? So this is, but again, a young guy, a young kid, a young girl, somebody that wants what should be is, wow, the world is my oyster, as Frankie Goes to Hollywood used to say. It's fine. I have it all. I can access it all. And I can actually learn more than I've ever learned. No? Instead of learning less, we decide to learn less because we also decide to focus less. No?
Yeah, that's correct.
So I have a following question, Daniel. What is your opinion of this notion government as a service?
Well, government is a service.
Government is the service, yes. Yeah. And if the service is not up to the requirement, then we have to be able to change the service provider.
Yeah, absolutely you do. Absolutely you do.
So nowadays, young people, they are free to move. They don't like this country. I see they go because so-called digital nomads take together the computer, one thing, and go in other country. Previously with this border control, it was not possible.
Yeah.
So, as I understood from your opinion, living in the digital age requires totally different capabilities and skills.
Oh, completely. It doesn't require completely different skills. It requires a different percentage of use of the same skills. Okay, so instead of being more about what we do with our hands or what we do, it's a different set of use of those skills, in my opinion. But I agree with you. The government is a service. But we need to discern the difference, and this is something that millennials don't get many times. Not millennials as a concept, but people who are used to getting such a wide variety of promises. We need to differentiate between service and donation. Not the same thing. And we need to be extremely aware of the risks of people that might be disappointed with the government because of the promises it made and the reality, and that what we are seeing, and the rise of populism comes from that, is that you get disappointed with the government because they don't do what you expected them to do, and you decide to choose a government that is even promising crazier things. You see what I mean? So the idea that government is Santa Claus that is going to give you everything for free, that is something that we need to constantly debunk in the minds of people. When anybody offers you something for free, it will always be extremely expensive.
Wow. At that last thought there, Daniel, I have to respect the time.
Absolutely.
Well. And but I definitely want to thank you guys. I'd love to continue the conversation. Trust me, I'd love to. I mean, you're an interesting speaker. I've watched at a lot of your interviews, and one of the things that really stood out to me is that, you are not the type to be politically correct.
Mhm.
You know,
Thank
you really speak your opinion. That is something that I read it actually in your book. You know, in one of the summaries in your book, you know, it really stated that, you know, this guy, he is not politically correct. You know, he really states his opinion very clear, and that I definitely respect. In this, listen, just a little bit over a half an hour conversation that we're having, you know, it is so clear. You know, that's what I said. You know, you are. It's interesting. It's not only that, but I've learned a lot, you know, from you in just this short span of time, you know, and I definitely am looking forward to the upcoming two other episodes that we will be having with you. And you know, secondly, the upcoming one is about blockchain, and the third would be about the blockchain governance. So I want to thank you, you know,
you.
for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you
It
very
was
much.
a
Thank you for
pleasure
your
for me
time.
to stay here in the center, which is not so decentralized, but you know, every decentralized system could have at least a virtual center, you know.
Thank
So
you
thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Been an
And by
absolute
the way,
pleasure.
Denisio, do you agree to already with Daniel or his secretary about the scheduling of the next time, the next one?
Yes, we already agreed on the schedule and the dates and the times. Yeah,
Oh, it's fine. Okay, so
yeah,
this we have a plan, you know.
yes,
We have
definitely.
a
Thank
plan.
you very much.
Yes.
Been an
Yes,
absolute pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you very much
yes.
for
Thank
this
you.
time, and talk to you soon. Have a good day.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.